In this video, I'm going to show you 2 ways to price your handmade items to sell for profit, either online or at craft shows or wherever you want. This video is for jewellery designers, so if you make rings or pendants or earrings, cufflinks, whatever. Woodworkers and wood turners, blacksmiths, or just crafters in general. So I'll be honest, I've been running my online shop, Zebrano Woodcraft, now for, well, years, like 7 odd years. And I thought that I had this all figured out. But upon researching for this video, I quickly realised that it's a rather deep rabbit hole and there's a lot of nuance when it comes to talking about how to price your handmade items. So I'd like to start out by saying that there is no one-size-fits-all pricing formula for every handmade business. Every business is different, everyone has different goals, and the prices you charge really will reflect those goals and the value that your customers perceive in your product. Now, I've said in previous videos that handmade items should be priced fairly to you, the creator, to your customers, and to the market in general. So I'd like to just take a few minutes and just delve into that, and we'll explore 2 different pricing structures. I'll show you what works for me, and then hopefully by the end of the video you'll be a boss at pricing up your handmade items. I've seen a lot of craftspeople seriously underselling their work, and ring makers, you guys are really bad for this. So hopefully this advice will help some of you. Let's just buckle up and get into it. Oh, my pencil's gone. Okay, so here is how I personally price my items. Now, whichever way you choose to do this, the first step you need to do is figure out your costs. And the costs will be split into 3 main categories. So the first one will be your material costs or your supply costs. And this is fairly self-explanatory. It covers all of the raw materials you need to make your products, any sundries, glues, finishes, just anything that goes into making the final product. So, for example, when I'm making a Damascus steel ring, the cost will be like the Damascus, there'll be any wood that I use, any glues and finishes, sandpapers, polishing compounds, buffing wheels and stuff for the rotary tool. And then I've got the price of the ring boxes at the end for the finished product, and any envelopes or boxes or anything I use to send the product out. So yeah, costs are just all the stuff the raw materials that you use to make your product. The second cost will be your labour. Now, a lot of craftspeople really trip themselves up with this one. I mean, you wouldn't expect to go to work and for your boss to pay you, half of a minimum wage. You should be paying yourself or paying your staff, obviously, a decent wage to make the products. So when it comes to labour costs, I like to do this per hour. So I figure out my per hourly rate based on my ideal day rate. So ideally, for a full 8 hours day of work, I would like to be paid £200. So if you divide that up by the 8 hours of the working day, that comes to £25 per hour. And I think that that's a very reasonable amount to ask for, considering, I'm a craftsman. I've spent a lot of time learning what to do, and I also do everything else for the business. I literally sweep the floors, I make the rings, I send the emails, and I make the stupid videos. So you can pay yourself wherever you want, but in order to calculate the labour cost of your product, you would take the number of hours or the amount of time that the product takes to make, and then obviously multiply that by your price per hour. So if a product takes 4 hours at £25 an hour, the labour cost is £100. The third cost then are overheads, and the overheads are something that's often overlooked in a lot of other handmade pricing structures I've seen. So the overheads will cover everything from like your workshop rent, the cost of electricity to keep the lights on and keep the lathes running, any other utility bills like water rates or gas, whatever, hosting fees for your website. So to calculate the overheads for a particular product, I will take the overall amount I spend per month, and then I'll divide that up by like 30 days. So say, for example, you spend £300 a month on keeping your workshop active and all of your overheads. Divide that up by 30 days will give you £10 per day, and then you might only take 4 hours of that working day to make the product, so that will be £5. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Just factor in your overheads and your labour time. Those are the most important things that a lot of people overlook. Okay, so the next part of your pricing will be your profit margin. Now, a lot of craftspeople and artists, when they think of profit margin, they just, it makes them feel a bit icky, But at the end of the day, you are running a business, and the whole point of businesses is to make money and make profit. So don't feel upset by it, and, don't feel like your customers will be put off by this, because they understand that businesses need to make a profit, bro. So this margin that you add on top, your profit, will be the money that you use to further invest in your business, whether that's buying new tools and machinery to kind of speed up your processes and make you more efficient. Or it might be, you spend money on advertising to bring in more customers. So this is really mega important. You must charge a profit margin. When I was starting out, and I was doing just woodworking on the side for fun, I was pretty much just happy to cover my material cost and give myself like a minimal hourly wage. But I quickly found that this led to burnout, because I was just kind of running on this hamster wheel, this treadmill, where I was getting orders but never really making any money. So it's really important to add a profit margin on top. Can't stress this enough. So this is just the way that I do it. The profit will be all of your costs added up, so your labour and your overheads and your materials. And the profit margin will be those costs plus at least 50%. I'd say 50 to 200%. That's up to you. You can charge more if you want, but I wouldn't go any less than a 50% profit margin. My advice really is to go towards the higher end, because, money is cool. That's it. That's the end of the lesson. Money is cool. You've learned what you need to learn. Now go off and make some money. No, I'm just joking. Finally, what I do at the end of my little pricing formula is I then add on the postage cost. So that might be a little bit overwhelming. So let's do a quick example so I can break down the numbers and you can see it on the screen and it will all make sense. So for example, if I was to price up this stunning Damascus steel with Kingwood ring. So in this example, the materials and the sundries and all the other bits, I've worked it out to be about £25. So that covers the steel, the wood, the finishes, the packaging, everything. £25 of raw materials. Then for my labour cost, that will be, takes around 4 hours on average for me to make one of these rings. So 4 hours times £25 will be £100. And then for the overheads, £15 per day generally is for a full day in the workshop. And then I took 4 hours to make the ring, so I divide 8 by 2 to get 4 hours, which will give me a total overhead cost of £7.50. Which means that the total cost of making the product, including all my labour, will be £132.50. Next, we add on a profit. So profit which is £132.50, which is the cost, times by 2 to get £265, which is a pretty nice price, but I forgot to add one overhead on, which was the Etsy selling fee, as I pretty much only sell on Etsy. However, I am looking to get into making my own website. So the Etsy fee would be the £265, and it's about 10% for Etsy when you factor in the payment processing fee and the listing fees and everything, and the final transaction fee. So yeah, £26.50 for the Etsy fee, which would be £265 plus £26.50 comes to £291.50. And then we add on the postage, which is £8.50, bringing the total cost, total price of the product to £300. And I popped that into a calculator earlier on, and that came to about $388. So listen, that's the way that I do it. I'm really happy with that price. I feel like I get paid fairly. The customer gets a good price. Profit has been made, and this is a good price for the market. It's sort of towards the higher end. It's definitely above average anyway. So it's fair to the market and the other sellers in my niche. Just a quick side tangent / rant. Why should you care about the other sellers in your niche and the market? They're a competition at the end of the day. Surely you want to take all their sales, right? I learned this in a really weird way, and it makes quite a good analogy, so I thought I'd share this with you, okay? When I was a plucky young 23-year-old lad, I went on a working holiday to Australia for a year. And it was awesome. You know, I got to party loads, met loads of cool people, got to travel and see the beautiful sights of Australia. And it was also really challenging as I went and got lots of different weird jobs so that I could, you know, survive. One of the jobs that I got was working on a bar crawl, which is probably the best job you could hope for as a backpacker. So what that job entailed is you would go to the ticket office in the morning of the bar crawl, and you would pick up a bunch of tickets, and your job was then to go around and sell the tickets to backpackers and tourists and people who wanted to come on the bar crawl. You then go back to the office at about 5 p.m. and any tickets you'd sold would cost you $10, and basically you could sell the tickets for anything over $10, normally about $25. So my first day, I went out, I got my tickets, a bunch of tickets from the office. I went out and I managed to sell 20 spots on the bar crawl, which was awesome. My tactic was to kind of knock down the price. So I'd go up and speak to a group of people and pitch them the bar crawl and then tell them that they could get onto the crawl if they did it through me for $20 instead of $25. And then they'd get to come and have a wild night out. So at the end of that day, I was really stoked. I'd obviously made myself, what's that, like $200? Yeah, $200 for a day's work, which is pretty cool. Then I got to go out and have a party in the nighttime as well, which was even more awesome for me back then when I was 23. So when I got the office, I was totally stoked as I'd sold all these spots. But one of my friends and co-workers was really annoyed at me. And I was like, dude, why are you so annoyed? Why are you so, why are you so angry at me? I sold 20 spaces. Surely that's good, we need the people on the crawl. It'll be really good for the local businesses and everything. And he explained to me, he said, you've ruined it for the rest of us now. Like, when it comes to selling this bar crawl in the next couple of days, we've all got to sell tickets at $20 now because everyone will be expecting to go out for that price. So by me dropping my price, I'd actually lowered the value of the other tickets. And it's kind of the same for if you're selling your handmade stuff. So, I mean, if you come in and you're selling, I don't know, bentwood rings for like $30 and everyone else is selling them at $150, then basically the only thing that you're doing is devaluing everybody else's work and the overall price of the product will eventually come down. So charge appropriately, charge the right amount, and charge as much as your peers, if not a little bit more, because in the long run, it just hurts everybody, including you. So that's my silly little analogy tangent over, and that's my pricing strategy, which I find works for me. Now, I like to work that way because I make custom jewellery. Each piece is normally individual, and people want to change materials and different elements all the time, and they might want to add engravings or customize it in some way. So that pricing strategy works really well for me. I have no aspirations to start wholesaling my goods or using resellers or anything. So I'm really happy with the way that pricing structure works. I get paid, I make profit, customer gets a good price. It's towards the higher end of the market. I'm not ripping anyone off. Wicked! But that might not be suitable for all different types of business. So the second pricing option is suitable for you if you run a business where you make products in large batches and you'd like to incorporate a wholesale model into your business and pricing. So this is the way I would do it. You would use your cost plus labor plus overheads. So that's, the costings that we worked out earlier on. And to find your wholesale price, you would multiply that by 2 or more. You can multiply it by 2, 2.5, sometimes even by 3 if you want to. Then to find the retail price, which is the price that you sell it directly to customers to, you would take your wholesale price and you would multiply that by either 2 or 3 or more, depending on how awesome your product is. Now, if I personally use this pricing strategy for my rings, I think that they would be prohibitively expensive and I would never sell anything, as I would just be like so much more expensive than everyone else, probably double as expensive as everyone else in my niche. However, if in your business, your product creation is either automated or done in large batches, so say you're running CNC machines, or laser engravers, or you're printing stuff, or even, if you're making like handmade soaps or candles or something where it makes sense for you to make things in huge batches, then this is the model for you that will work the best. It gives you enough wiggle room so that, you've got profit in your wholesale prices, and then for your retail, you've got enough wiggle room to put on sales or whatever you want. So, there are 2 options for you. Now, none of this is set in stone, and I think that you are allowed to be quite fluid with your prices if you want to be. With any amount of selling experience, you will quickly find out that actually the market and your customers will dictate the prices that you can charge. Over time, you might find that you've priced your items too high and it's prohibitively expensive and nobody wants to buy it. Say, for example, if you're trying to sell a pen for £600, it's just never going to sell, surely. Or on the flip side, you might find that there's a really high demand for your product and that you can get away with charging more. Perhaps you can add an extra £30 to £50 and people will still buy it and you'll still make enough sales to run the business. In which case, awesome. So if you had some coaches, they call this value-based pricing, which is all based on the value that your customers will perceive in your product and affect the price that they will pay. So I've realized this has probably been one of the longer videos about this subject, but there's a lot to cover and there's a lot of nuance involved. So I hope it's been helpful to you. The main takeaways I want you to have from this video are: don't be afraid to pay yourself a good wage and charge accordingly for it, and don't be afraid to make a decent profit. So thanks very much for watching. Do you have any questions about selling the stuff that you make? Leave me a comment and I will gladly help you out. Also, I've made quite a few videos now, so you might like to go and watch a few of those. Some of them are quite fun. And if you do want to see more content like this, then come and subscribe, and then you can keep up with me when I release new videos. In the meantime, take it easy, and I will see you in the next one.